Welcome everyone to Circle Way Tribe Recording with A'ida Shibli. We're so honored to have you here with us to share your personal story, to share the story of our communities, and to share what we actually can all be doing in these difficult times. I'm in so many ways speechless when it comes to our world state. And so much has been going on, and in this moment we are seeing a world collapse. We're seeing so many people dying, innocent people. And the only thing we can do is be connecting with each other right now, sharing our voices and sharing our hearts and sharing our actions. And this webinar is supposed to bring us some light, some truth, and some activation on how we can move on. And we're very honored to have you here with us. And I would love to start by sharing a little bit about you, some words. I've been closely connected in the last year with your work through joining the Global Love School, where I could meet you in person, where I could hear your stories amidst all the awful things that are happening in the world. You were standing, giving courses on love, on peace building, on community building, and how internally we are good. This is the message that stayed with me very closely. How you called a movement of women in white, how you are leading, and also how you are following different movements, how you're helping, guiding people who are in the front lines of activism. And I'm very proud to have been with you in these days. And I was very honored to hear your wisdom. And I would love to start by also sharing some of the questions that were coming up already back then. And I was wondering, primary, how do you keep your faith? How do you keep your faith amongst everything that is going on?
Thank you. You're starting from the most simple question. How to keep the faith. Yeah, maybe I start from just saying where I am now, and then I will arrive to how to restore our connection to faith. And after or going through still the second year of genocide on my people, and more than 57,000 of people killed in Gaza, thousands of people being injured. The West Bank is locked, and in the last 5 days, also a new war that is launched on Iran that is bringing the danger for all of us, not only in the Fertile Crescent, which is an alternative name to what's called the Middle East, as Middle East is a colonial name. So it's not only a danger into the Fertile Crescent, but it's a danger that can bring us all of us, this big global village, into a third world war, where the threat of nuclear power is activated as never before. And as you said, we met last year, and in the midst of genocide, I still speak and urge myself and others to find ways to anchor our activism and our actions in a state of love. And although this state of love and this state of connection and belief is tested again and again, I try to every day bring myself to a practice, certain practices, so I can call my ego that will be triggered by my fears. I call in my mind, heart, and all chakras and all fields of energy back to decisions that my soul vowed for. And this needs discipline. This needs discipline that I almost force it on myself, because the ego in moments of being tested likes to create panic and horror and ooh, and we lose, and wow, it's ending, and what is worthy, and what and that's the panic and state of fear that brings us to paralysis, brings us to powerlessness. And I always need to remind myself and my mind in this state that paralysis, panic, being broken, being helpless is an aim that systems of oppression wants us to arrive to it. And every time that we allow that we are there, they won. And so I have a very clear decision not to allow systems of oppression to win on me. Even if I will not, me and others, we will not win the the optimal goals that we want, maybe not in my lifetime. And that's also a place of grief, of saying the fruit of the tree that I planted in this lifetime, can I see it? Can I eat from it? That's a longing that we all have. And there is this acceptance that not every tree that we plant will give fruit in our lifetime, and to accept that. So I don't want to give the war and the genocide the victory over my smile, because my smile, it is the mirror of my soul. My soul, as everybody of us, was made in a moment of love making between the goddesses, between the nature entities, between divine, between whatever you fill in the gaps according to your world view of saying what is sacred, what is divine. But we were all made in a moment of love, and I acknowledge that some of us were made in moments of violence, of power over. And I don't mean the actual forcing the love making. That's not what I mean. I mean the soul being born. That's as an action is way beyond the love making between male and female, or male and male, and all of these. That's not what I mean. I mean your soul purpose coming into earth in this material life is a moment of love. And to acknowledge this moment of love despite the pain, I refuse to be broken. This does not mean that I don't feel the pain. Oh, I feel it so much. I feel it so much. And I allow myself also part of the discipline to create moments where I grieve. And not only individually with my garden and with the plants that are around me, but with other people. Right now, I'm coming and still in the middle of a peace camp that I called for, me and members of my community here in Tamera. And we designed it to accompany the march to Gaza that started 2 days ago on the 15th of June and would go until the 20th, to create a corridor of humanitarian aid and calling the attention to the genocide that is happening in Gaza. And they were not permitted to do that sacred action. So we created this camp where we sit together, accompany them in their movements, and create a space where they can land with us when they come back. Where we also create energy to put our attention to the genocide And by sitting in such a camp, we demonstrate what are the conditions that are needed to allow us to stay with an open heart, which is togetherness, community. Community is a practice. By itself, it's a practice. A practice. It's a spiritual path that needs practice, and to arrive to the practice again and again. It's not only by bringing your physical body to the community meetings, but to understand that, wow, in order to build togetherness with other people, I need to be present, but to be present in my body, first of all, in a state of love, in my compassion. That's the togetherness that I believe that can undo colonialism, undo war, because systems of oppression wants us to be separated. Every act that unites us, despite our diversity, unite us in values and ethics that are for life, is an act of dismantling these systems of power. This gives me faith when I'm able, despite the pain, despite the grief, to still act and inspire others for actions. Gives me faith in me, in others, in us, that we are still able. We still believe in our beauty. We still believe in our power. We did not give up. Gives me faith.
Thank you so much. You were mentioning how the grief comes in your system. You're mentioning how grief is important to allow to come through. Could you talk about that more? Because I think that in grief is also what I've heard you speak on before as well, is how important grieving actually is for people.
Yeah. And I come from a Bedouin indigenous tribe. People who live in the same location, plus minus, because they are nomads, used to be nomads, so they would move from one place to another according to the seasons, but they have been in that location for thousands of years. See, thousands of years. There's no difference anymore. Like when I looked into my grandfather face and my grandmother face when they were still alive, and the features of the mountain that we are living on, it's so similar. It's like you see the mountain in my grandfather face. I mean, he had also a very big nose, as I do, which was a mountain by itself. And these people have been land-based communities that they knew that in order to continue living with land, they would need to process their emotions in a way that brings them back to joy, brings them back to aliveness. Indigenous tribes, land-based communities, all of us also today, we face a lot of pain. We face a lot of suffer. And part of their practices, ancient practices, is to acknowledge, first of all, that death is not our enemy, the natural death. The natural death is just part of life. The opposite to not being part of life is suffer, unnecessary suffer. It's the suffer that comes not from natural disasters, that they don't come from diseases and death, but suffer that inflicted because of our greed. And so whenever suffer and pain that comes from the natural world or from unnecessarily suffer that is a production of human structures greed, these people will create ceremonies of grieving together. And nowadays, there is also movement in alternative scenes, a lot of grief circles, which is beautiful. I think it's really a very necessary acts to reclaim. And so far, I'd like the grief ceremonies that I meet, they are practiced in the European world, but they come from Africa, they come from other places. I pray, and I also teach in my re-indigenizing tools. I pray for European people to use these practices as a gate to come in contact with their own old practices. And because there's an image inside of me that God, nature, goddesses has an intention for this diversity that we are in, which is each people, each ethnic, each tribe brings something from the universe to that plate of diversity. So when you are uprooted from yours, which is understandable also, um, you can use my gate for a certain time, but I would like you to use that gate so you can go to your own roots. I have an image inside of me when we are in our roots, we can branch with pride and beauty. But nevertheless, to go back to grief, grief always helped people um, to come back to the center of life, to the aliveness, to the vitality, to that leads to resilience, and not to do it in ceremonies once a month, but actually to come to a place where every day you go through all these portals of pure joy, pure anger, if it's there, pure sadness and grief. All these gates arrive to them with 100%. So in a moment that comes a moment of pain and grief, feel it, but feel it to the depth, so it can cleanse through your body, through your soul, and then you can go to the portal of joy, to the portal of action, to the portal of rage. So grief shall not be something that we allocate for it far away once a month, a ceremony, but to practice that it's we go through these portals every day, many times. The main portal that I would love us all to linger a lot in it is the portal of pure joy, pure happiness, the happiness, not the superficial happiness, but the depth of happiness, which is our birthright and our duty. As the Buddha says, your main purpose in life is to be happy, not the superficial happiness, but happy that it is through acceptance, through welcoming, through being rooted, through having a vision, having a perspective for life. I feel my happiness, despite all the pain, is that inside of me, I have a very simple and sacred image where there is a flow of resources, of information, of goodness to all what lives. I have a very simple image that and it exists, and it makes me rich to know, wow, it exists. It makes me also endure pain. I don't wish that pain, not for me and not for anybody. It's also can be tricky sometimes. This assumption that there are some people who are, no matter what, resilient. That is what is called in psychology the thick skin bias. We assume that certain people, especially people of color, especially women of color, indigenous people, Africans, whatever, they can endure it, they can take it, because so far they endured a lot. They will, and this is an image that have been put into us Palestinians a lot now for 77 years being under occupation, trying to raise our voices again and again with peaceful actions, with nonviolent marches, with poetry, with culture, with everything, raising our voices for the injustice that is happening to us. And there is silence, there's complicity, not from the people, but from governments, from systems. And again and again, we receive a hit after a hit, and we rise up. But I'm afraid that these resources that we have, um, I want to remind ourselves, all of us, it's not that it's finite. There's no end for it. Yeah, people in Gaza, despite more than 20 months, are showing us lessons in resilience. But please, let us not assume that it will be there forever. Let us not assume that I will be able to keep smiling despite the pain forever. I don't want to assume that. My whole being is also calling for justice. For justice. It's justice. It's a beautiful state of being where there is there is fairness. There's a game of life that it's good for all participants. Imagine they made us get used that there is a loser in every game. But come on, there are games that who no matter who plays, it's a joyful game. I believe that life was meant to be a love affair, a joyful game for all of us. So I don't accept this game, and I call for different games, for different ways of living. And for this, I need that we are united. I need that we are anchored in prayer, in sacredness, in love, that our compassion is based on love. I am struggling every day to expand my love, my true love and compassion to those who are inflicting genocide on my people. That's my stretch. That's my everyday portal where I linger with so much pain because I can have so much compassion to the state of ignorance that they are in, and my rage, my sacred rage for the harm that they are inflicting is endless. And I want an action that stops the harm but does not stop them from being alive. But the harm that they are inflicting, I want it to stop. And for this, I want justice. I want us to stand and say, no, your action is wrong. Because that's the measurement for me for how do we know is that if an action is good or not. It's the simple question. If you multiply that action, does it serve life? Does it serve love and light for all? If the answer is not, then your action is not. And then there is a need to stop it. Ah,
Beautiful. This is such an important given for our system to really feel this, to
yeah,
really take this in. And more than 150,000 people were marching last Sunday in the Netherlands,
yeah,
saying stop,
yeah,
saying stop.
yeah,
And I think we were very proud of this movement, of how this all came together.
yeah,
And then so many people
yeah.
went home and were asking, and now?
Great. This is a very important image. You're reminding me of something so essential that I want to speak to it. First of all, gratitude to all these millions. It's not only thousands in the Netherlands, millions of people are showing up, and in general, the narrative is changing. It's and maybe the Zionist regime, the global Zionist regime, is winning right now in a military way of measurement, but war and fights, I don't want to call it war, fights and struggle is often measured by narratives, and the narrative is changing.
Mm.
So this is very important for me that more and more people are rising up and showing that they are understanding that the narrative is changing. Many people are also rising for solidarity because of solidarity with Palestine. And I want to here put an emphasis: when we rise against genocide, it is not only an act of solidarity for Palestine, it's actually an act of self-defense for ourselves, because this genocide is inflicted on Palestinians, not because of Palestinians, just because simply Palestinians are the enemies of Israel, the enemies of Zionism, because Zionism put us as their enemies. We didn't choose it. And Israel is, as a state, is used and putting the Jewish people in danger for that system of oppression and that system of global domination that is using Jewish people, putting Israelis and Jewish people in danger for the service of that global domination. And please read Naomi Klein when she speaks about the global domination. And now I come to the point that I want to say to people who are marching, whether it is in solidarity or because they understand the bifurcation point that Gaza and the genocide in Gaza. Gaza is Gaza. It's in Arabic, Gaza. They are standing and going to the streets, and thousands are in hunger strike and in ongoing boycotting and many actions that to point toward the genocide. Thank you for that. And now comes the question, if we go back after the demonstration and after the camps and we do not change something in our lifestyle, we did not change anything. And here it's very important for me to understand the global domination systems of oppression. They want to dominate resources. They want to dominate all what the Fertile Crescent represents as resources of petroleum, natural gas, connections, the Gate of Hermes now with Iran, all the world trade is going through that. There is a wish to control all these resources, and Palestinians especially, because they are such a symbol for resilience, but also Kurds and other nations are standing against this domination. But when we go back as people who demonstrate in Europe and in the USA, and we don't change our lifestyle, and our lifestyle is so dependent on these resources, then here there is a contradiction. From one side, I say I don't want the European government, and especially the USA, to control the Fertile Crescent and make a domination on and monopoles on fuel and natural resources. But from the other side, I want to continue consuming them. And I want my right, my entitlement for being privileged, for being in power, and I want to use all these privileges for me. And here comes the thing that I believe in, which is building land-based communities in European land, in what is called the Turtle Island, what is called US, in America, and everywhere. Imagine we arrive to places where we step out of the system that makes it inevitable for its continuation to control other people. So as long as I don't find alternative to natural gas, to petroleum, to consumption, personal consumption, and overusing personal freedom versus collective freedom, collective liberation, then I'm supporting the system. Simply. I can put as much Palestinian flags or tattoos and shout Free Palestine. I need to see how my lifestyle, especially people in the West, our collective lifestyle tells these governments to continue wanting to control the system. It's just to make this link, why I call for land-based communities as alternative to the this domination system.
Thank you so much for this bridge to the communities and its long-term impact that they can have on really changing something. So that these wars that are raging right now everywhere in the world can really be turned around because people start connecting back to the land, connecting back to the resources. And I
Yeah.
think that this is also the spiritual connection that you mentioned before with our lands, with
Mm.
everything that is gifting to us. So we become more free in our spirit and in our ways of seeing how the world is actually a joyful place if we can
Yeah.
tap into that and not keep seeking it
Yeah.
outside of ourselves.
Yeah. I want to add one thing here that I feel it's very important. Unless you have another
Please.
question.
No, go,
Uh,
go.
it's like if I go back to land-based communities, if I go back to indigenous knowledge, which uh, the main thing um, that distinguish indigenous wisdom from colonial and post-colonial uh, uprooted people um, is that the base of Western societies is individualism, which was not the fact that this is a result of colonialism. Uh, White folks of Europe and Turtle Island, uh, they were not white people in Turtle Island, but they came from Europe as colonialism. So let's focus on Europe in this. White people, tribes of European countries um, also lived in tribal knowledge before colonialism. In colonialism, the base that sustain European centeredness is individualism. Me, 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 me. Verse in tribes, in collective living, the base is accountability. What does it mean, accountability? Uh, where I grew up, we have few sources of water. We used to have. Now they are sucked by the state. We still have one that is still dripping. But I learned from my grandfather and my grandmother how many laws and regulations the tribe had for how to use the water. Because they knew that their existence depends on these resources. So if you decide that you want to use the water different, that the collective knowledge of the tribe, you will be held accountable, which leads also to punishment, which is, I mean, there's communication. When it fails, there's punishment. Now, if I bring it to the state that we are in, many of our larger global tribe are using the collective resources that we all have and were gifted by life in ways that they are not ethical to life. People who have billions of billions, they have number of richness, uh, of numbers that I cannot, even my mind cannot grasp them. I think beyond 1,000 euros, my mind goes a little bit weird. But all these numbers that I don't have contact with them, and all of us, and I assume that they don't have contact with. What does it mean, that number? Where did this number come from? This number came from us being robbed. Now, if we don't create systems of accountability, of collective and global accountability, and allow people of us, of our larger tribe, to become so greedy, and us staying in the, like, in so sweet in prayer and kumbaya, and so praying that they will get out of their ignorance while they are leading us and the resources around us to a no return point, then that's also a helpless uh, point. It's not a point of strength. So how do we create systems of accountability that we say no to this, to these ways of greed? Only one small action, which is our democratic voice, our democratic actions, but also understanding how these systems work. It's a duty to yeah, to bring us stronger or closer to a possibility, a different possibility, learning about different ways of living, that it's not within the box that is given to us. Look to the Zapatista in Mexico, look to the Kurdish movement in Rojava. They found different ways to live, that it's not within the nation state, that has accountability, that has being rooted in ceremonies and old ancient knowledge that their people had, and they live in diversity. So that diversity and that way of living is possible. And we need to, in these moments of collective pain, to study about these alternatives, to know how did they made it, so we can also make it.
Thank you. This is a very powerful call to start really also what you said before, really going back to your own roots, really seeing. I'm originally from Belarus, the story of my country, a story
Yeah.
that holds also so much wisdom.
Mm.
So many shamans are living, and these stories are not told, but I know they're there. I
Yeah.
know they can be found. And
Yeah.
just as much as I see in the northern part of Europe, there's
Mm.
so many people digging into these stories. And please find them, go find
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
together we can do this research deeper, and then also to apply this research into our day-to-day life and bring this
Yeah.
back. Thank you
Yeah.
for giving this call.
Yeah.
I think this is the starting point.
Yeah. I think like there's a lot of European people who are under the spell of shame of being the transcendent of colonialism.
Mm.
And this also, we need to make rituals to free ourselves from it, from the shame and blame, by rising to responsibility. But if the result is that people are ashamed of being white, then I did not achieve anything. I I want us to come to a place where we are proud, proud. Everybody have to be proud. Like, yeah, I am a manifestation of life.
Mm.
Let's create actions that brings us to a place where I'm proud of who I am, and I will create everything that you are proud of who you are. And what was done in our name, we need to make rituals to sever the connections and rise to responsibility. Okay, then I have now privilege and power resulting from that system. How do I use it to dismantle the effects of the system? And how do I use this power and privilege for life? There's so many ways to do it. So many ways, but this would be another talk.
This is already giving, I think, so many fruits for people to just really get their teeth in and
Mm,
to really like crunch it and feel what they can do. And I know that there are so many people who will be listening who are also young parents
wow.
who were there at the marches and who
Mm,
are already being aware of the
mm,
products that they are buying, who are very aware of the land that they are making
mm,
connections with. And I
mm,
think this is a very interesting group that is already inspiring so many people within city areas, within their communities, a lot. And I think that this will be the question that I'm asking also for them and also for us. And the question involves how can they find and found communities? Because I think this question is something that I keep hearing
mm,
so often. Like, I
mm,
would love to build community. I would love to be
mm.
part of existing community.
Yeah.
But either existing communities don't want people to come in. We hear that very often. They are going through a lot of their own transformations,
Mm.
or there are very small communities that don't want to grow too fast or growing too fast and having bad experiences with that. So there's so much going on within the building of communities.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to maybe speak a little bit about, for these parents, the young
Mm.
generations that are seeing their kids and wanting a new future for them. How would you imagine this, and what can you maybe give them as
Yeah.
advice?
It is so true, all what you said, and it's yeah, it's a moment of confronting what exists, and it's sad. But I would like to take us into another direction, and also to repeat it. It's true that many existing communities are going through a lot of transformation, especially after what they called it COVID, that hit that we all got collectively. Many did not survive the financial effects, and lots of fear entered the system. Um, so it's true, I can say it also for Tamara. Actually, Tamara, we are now in a space that we are actively launching, and I'm one of the people who are holding this, that for the coming year, we will open a space for 3 years, trying to come to Tamara. So next year, we want to, inshallah, God give us the power, because we definitely see that we need to grow um, in certain ways. So stay tuned, and it's not a promise. Please don't hold me in that, but that's an intention of an understanding that we need new blood, new energy, and for sure we are also looking for diversity and not to stay within majority of white people. We are looking for diversity. Um, and as you said, smaller groups, they don't want to go too fast. So what is left for us? And then I would say, those of you who can build any vessel of togetherness. You see, like when we say community, um, there's a heaviness around the, no, no, it's not heaviness. There's the title immediately invokes certain images, because the what we are comparing is Tamara, Findhorn, Damanhur. These are huge entities. They are there to inspire us, but it's not there to copy. So when people say, I want to found a community, the heaviness of the image is too much. But I'm saying, create reachable images for you of togetherness, because living in community is about principles. I as a person who lives in, I was born in an indigenous tribe, lived there for 35 years, and I'm here in Tamira, in an intentional community for 20 years. Oh, now you can know that I'm 53. It's like I understand more and more, living in community is about principles of living in community, is about the togetherness. And I want to tell you that living here, I also have people among us that physically they are in an intentional community, but they are not in a communitarian heart. So let's go into principles of community. Principles of community, it comes from, first of all, from this place where you know that everything that I do, think, feel, has an influence on the others. And I need to know who are the others, who are the people in my sphere of influence, who are the people, and it might be a small circle of people, maybe 5, 6, 9, 12. Tamara started from 3 people saying we want to come together. Find these 2, 3 people and ask in everyday life, how do I come in a place that I know the impact of my actions and thoughts on you, and what are the impacts of thoughts and actions of you on me, and that let's start to enlarge it. You need to have a place where you have a frame of work of knowing how sharing resources also if you live in a city. Imagine I live in neighborhood number A and you live in neighborhood number B and C, and we can still share a laundry machine if we are in a walkable distance. We don't need, like, immediately think that we need to move to live together and we need to share everything from the beginning together. So there are steps, and make the steps that are possible for you. Sharing risk is a very important element of building community. And this goes back to what I said before. Many of the people who demonstrate for free Palestine, they will go to the streets, and I believe in them. They are demonstrating for free Palestine. But if free Palestine means that you have less ice cream or less buying from sweatshops, then you start feeling, oh, that's a big risk. I take it from here to sharing risk means that you can still live in neighborhood number A and the second lives in neighborhood number B, and we share our financial life. We start sharing a risk means that I will make sure that your well-being is guaranteed by my actions. Imagine that you multiply this to more and more people, and then you can also start growing from a virtual community for a certain period of time and share resources with one bank account till the moment that you purchase something together or live together. I'm inspired by nonviolent global liberation movement, which is the organization behind my partner in Women in White, Miki Kashtan, and it's a virtual community, but they share resources. They share their income, and by this they are in Tamera. We live in we are celebrating today 30 this year 30 years for the existence of Tamera, and we don't share all of our bank accounts. We still have individual, which allows sometimes the ego to think individually. But this community are sharing their resources already now, although they live all across the globe. So living in community is practicing the principles first of all, and then finding when is the moment of time where you do live together. Because if we are not in that preparation, we did not educate ourselves enough to understand what does it mean to bring three strong personalities in one house, and then we jump into polyamory without understanding, we crash, and then people say, oh, I have a bad experience with living in community. I'm sorry, you didn't prepare yourself enough for what does it mean. There's a projection that living in community is so easy and makes everything easy. I tell you, no, no, it does not make everything easy. It fosters the consciousness around things, but it's for sure there are also many things that are easier when you have more people in one mind and one heart and one soul. But in order to arrive to a place that we are one mind, one heart, one soul, there's a lot of work, and that work is so exhausting. Because imagine we are working against a field of 7,000 years of domination, of control, of power over. We are working against a field of hundreds of years of colonialism, where to separation from our roots, from our lands. And we are here to create something the opposite. And most of these intentional communities are 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Findhorn is 50 something years. But what is 50 years versus 12,000 years of patriarchy? Let us be conscious about time and about now. I want results now. It's back to the tree. If you push the tree to give fruit so you can eat, you are not with the brain of nature, of earth. Often in community there is a way of living that you invest for future generations. and not necessarily for you. And that needs spiritual strength to accept it, because you know what, it's really hard. It's really hard to because many of you, I don't come from Christian background, I come from Muslim background, and I deny or reject all these monotheistic religions, just for your to know. But in Christianity, there is this level of sacrifice and saviorism, and I sacrifice myself on an altar of something, and I want to move us from there, because in my image, this life is a love affair, and there is investment rather sacrifice. There is there's devotion. I devote my energies for something to grow. I don't sacrifice my longings. I speak them, but I grow capacity to accept that not all my longings will be fulfilled. And for this I grow patient, because I know that my soul, now I am born as A'ida, as a Bedouin, indigenous, Palestinian, Muslim, mother to Nil, and partner to this and that. That's my biography now, but my soul has a bigger arc of manifestation. My soul will come back. So now I invest from within this biography and background what I can, also for the future of my soul and for the future of my beloved daughter. So living in community needs all of really a lot of investing in knowledge and for ourselves, which is adventure. To know more is an adventure. Is great. It gives us also humility of why to push things when they are not ripe, and also not to stop doing because, oh, maybe the time is not ripe. And where's the balance between? Where is the tension point between I rise for what is needed and I let go things that I cannot control? Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I think this is a beautiful answer for all the young parents and everyone who comes also from a lot of movements that have had like the sporadic, movements in them. And there's so many people looking for more sustainable ground where they can come home to, where they can know we're building something for this soul journey to come and to feel at home. So thank you for answering this question so beautifully. As I know our time and your time is very
I
valuable.
need to go to the camp. You see, we have march to Gaza.
Can you show your shirt? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually just wanted to ask you one question about the movements that you are part of, and the movement maybe also something you would like to highlight for us to hear and perhaps to join you in whatever way possible.
Yeah, thank you. We will share later links for activities and organizations that are working on the ground in Gaza to help the people to stay alive. Stay alive. And also to know that in Gaza, it's not only about food, there's also shelters. Still, people, despite the starvation, are creating places of education. And there's people who are supporting these initiatives, so we will send the links to them. Also, there, while we are focusing on Gaza, the West Bank is under attack, and this is where the media puts our attention in one place and meanwhile doing other things in other places, what Noam Chomsky called it, the distraction of the media. So we need to be aware that while eyes now on Tehran, and I pray for them, for the safety of everyone, the genocide is continuing in Gaza, and while the genocide is happening in Gaza, the West Bank is locked, and there are so many projects that are in a very sensitive moments, and I will give I will advise you to support two projects that we are supporting in the West Bank. One is Farha, the first eco-village in Palestine that we supported to happen in 2014. And since then, it's more and more villages in Palestine want to be recognized as eco-villages, although they are land-based communities. But this trend of being an eco-village, it's not a trend, it's like an expression of themselves, and they want to be also in it. And in Tulkarm, there is projects that we have been supporting for long time, and they are under real danger. And I would love that you support, and each one of you can read the links, open the pages, and see where does your heart want to support. So you send your donation, and remember that your donation requires you to stay in responsibility, because you may choose to send it in a monetary way, and that's good, thank you for that, but please make it being accompanied with a prayer. Make it be accompanied with a vow of taking responsibility, because we shall not be in a place that we use our power and privilege to give a donation and then continue our lives. No, it's a gesture of saying we are all together in this, and I help where I can, and I stay in relation. Yeah. So we will share all these links, and I give gratitude in advance for supporting.
Thank you so much. And also from our side, we would love to ask everyone who is able to donate how much you can, make it a fair share that you can miss, and make it count, and add this prayer. I think this would really help in supporting, and also in exactly the question we're all asking: what can we do next? What is that little next act that we can do? And also would love to add to this that we would also love part of this donation to go to the fund, and also part of this donation to go to A'ida, who is giving her time and her energy to have these conversations with us. And I think it's so valuable to be able that we can listen to her again and again. And I would love for everyone to feel that also as a support. So you know that we are supporting this work and supporting voices for peace, and voices for helping us build peace communities.
Thank you. I would make more precision in this. I would like that there's a separation between these two things. I would love that if a person wants to send this much to Gaza, it goes to Gaza, and please write next to your donation that it goes to Gaza. I don't want to take part from these donations. No, this doesn't go for our hearts. I would like that there is a box where people know that this donation, this amount, goes to support my time, this energy that I'm exchanging with you, and then my heart can understand it better. Otherwise, we are taking percentage from things that want to go to humanitarian aid, and this is not okay. And I also invite you to join me in online courses that I'm teaching. It's for me a vessel and a way that I keep speaking to the higher self and the higher entity of my people and our tribes and our culture. So we do not associate Palestinians only with suffer and occupation, but actually we are people of culture. We have so much joy of life and culture that we lean back to, that I would like to share it with you, and also to share with you how I can support you with 30 years of knowledge and experience that I gathered, that you can reach to your own roots if you are coming from European roots. And so I will be offering an online course next year in January, and also courses here in Tamera. If you would like to create a platform for me wherever you are in Europe to speak with people, we can speak details. As I said, I am in devotion, not in sacrifice, in devotion for the liberation of my people, but actually the liberation for all of us. And I acknowledge that God has gifted me with some wisdom that I would like to share. and make it as possible accessible to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, A'ida, so much.
Thank you.
We will be sharing everything on the post and below this video so that you can easily access everything that A'ida just said and even more information on the courses and everything that's out there. Yes.
Inshallah. Thank you, Anya, and thank you,
Elisa.
Elisa, for being with your smile accompanying everything. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for listening and sharing some of your life energy. Thank you.
Thank you for all the listeners and everyone involved in raising more consciousness and building peace communities. Thank you.